I'm going to turn this over to Hannah.
It's the Berkeley Township Elementary School. We would like to welcome the author, Bruce Coville, to our school. The BTES Readers Theater Club has adapted the first 4 chapters of his novel, My Teacher is an Alien. It is our pleasure to present it to you now.
A few students were outside Kennetuck Falls Elementary School. It was the first night back from spring vacation and they hadn't gone into the building yet.
Hey, Geekoid,
Yelled Duncan as he snatched Peter Thompson's book out of his hand.
why do you read so much? Don't you know how to watch TV?
Susan could see that he wanted to grab the book back from Duncan, but she also knew if Peter tried, Duncan would creep him.
Why would he spend so much of his time picking on a kid like Peter Thompson? Peter never bothers anyone. Heck, the only thing he really wants is to be left alone so he can read whatever book he has his nose stuck in at the moment.
Susan could tell by the look on Duncan Dougal's face that the spring fight season was about to begin.
I watched as Peter's pale face started to turn red. Peter blushed almost everything.
Peter was tall, thin, and wore thick glasses. He was the smartest person Susan ever met, grown-ups included. The problem was it was all book smarts. Peter had absolutely no idea how to deal with a creep like Duncan.
Cut it out, Duncan! Anyone who knew Duncan could see he was gearing up for a fight, but it wasn't necessarily going to be with Peter, since Peter usually just took whatever Duncan dished out.
Susan figured Duncan was using it as a warm-up, so she was a little surprised when he tossed Peter's book into the puddle. Even Duncan should have known that was something you just don't do to Peter.
Oops, I dropped it.
Peter launched himself off the wall and bashed his head into Duncan's stomach. Within seconds, the two of them were rolling around on the ground.
The fight hadn't gone on more than 10 seconds when a tall, blond man came pushing through the crowd. Without saying anything, he grabbed the fighters, gave them each a shake, and hauled them to their feet.
Peter started it.
I did not. Yes, sir.
Sure, I got it.
The mysterious blond man walked away towards the school.
Who is that? Who knows? I never saw him before. He's probably a new sub. Come on, let's go inside.
When they finally got to the room, their teacher, Miss Schwartz, one of the best teachers in the whole school, was not there. Instead, the tall sub was there with Dr. Bleakman, the principal.
The sub is handsome.
I suppose. Where do you think Miss Schwartz is?
Maybe she's sick or her plane didn't make it back on time. That happened to my 3rd grade teacher once.
Good morning, class. I would like to introduce you to Mr. Johnson and Mr. Smith.
The rest of the year? What happened to Miss Schwartz?
We open up on scene 2 with Dr. Bleakman addressing Susan's outburst over Mrs. Schwartz's disappearance.
Susan is thinking to herself.
Well, excuse me, there is no sense in making things worse than already were, so I raised my hand and Dr. Bleakman pointed at me.
What happened to Miss Schwartz?
That is a private matter.
In her head, Susan thought.
What was that supposed to mean? Was she pregnant? Did she have a horrible disease? Did she get fired? Why hadn't she said goodbye? Suddenly Susan stood up and shouted,
I want to know where she is.
Dr. Bleakman looked at Susan in surprise.
Do you know the meaning of the word private?
Yes, sir.
Susan sat there quietly while Dr. Bleakman talked about her behavior. Susan raised her hand.
Yes, Miss Simmons? Are we still going to do our play? Play? Of course we're not going to do a play. We're here to work.
Susan sat back down and thought to herself.
6th grade was going to get bad faster than a dead fish on a hot day.
Dr. Bleakman hired me to straighten this class out. I can see now what he told me about you is correct. Things have gone completely out of control in this room.
Actually, that was half true. Our room wasn't out of control. It just wasn't under Dr. Bleakman's thumb. In most of the rooms, the teachers did not want. Dr. Bleakman wanted no questions about it. Miss Schwartz's room was nothing like that. We were learning a lot more than we used to. Miss Schwartz knew how to make learning interesting.
Susan recalled to the first day of school.
Miss Schwartz stood at the front of the room and held up a 6th grade reading book, Rockets and Flags, but it's known as Rodents and Fleas.
This is not a good book.
She held it away like a soggy tissue and dropped it in her bottom drawer.
I know a better one. In fact, I know hundreds.
The students and Miss Schwartz spent the rest of the year reading real books.
Mr. Smith, are you going to read out loud to us?
Of course not. That's just a waste of time.
Over the next few weeks, Mr. Smith straightened the class out right. The students stopped laughing in school and things were awfully grim. Mr. Smith went nuts when he caught one of the students playing the radio.
I ban radios and music players. I don't just hate rock music, I hate all music.
After the third week, Susan went to her music teacher, Mr. Bam Boom Bamwick, to complain about Mr. Smith.
Mr. Smith is the worst teacher ever. He hates all music.
Susan, you have to understand that not everyone appreciates the finer things in life.
Susan was disappointed her music teacher didn't support her more. She returned back to the classroom for math. Susan was still feeling cranky after finishing her math test early, so she decided to write a note to Stacy. This is what the note stated.
Mr. Smith is a total creepazoid. He has totally ruined this class. Our whole year has gone down the tubes. The man is a total Philistine.
After Susan wrote a few more sentences, she was really wound up. Susan thought to herself,
This note was turning into a humdinger. I decided to draw a picture of Mr. Smith, extra tall, extra skinny, while holding his ears because I was playing the piccolo.
Susan slipped the note under her math test and waited for a chance to pass it to Stacy.
I imagined Stacy laughing so hard she fell off her chair.
Unfortunately, while Susan was daydreaming, Mr. Smith started collecting the class papers. By the time she saw him walking up the road, it was too late to move the note. Susan watched in horror and thought,
I'm doomed.
It haunted Susan thinking about how she could get that stupid note back. The second she went after recess, she pulled Stacy aside to tell her about the note.
What am I supposed to do?
I don't know, but all I know is that if that note has my name on it, we will both get in trouble.
Maybe you won't see it.
Are you kidding me? He's checked every single paper that was handed in.
Susan knew that Stacy was right. When Miss Schwartz marked their homework, she always penciled in comments on the side to show she was listening to their creative ideas. But when Mr. Smith gave their papers back, it looked like he was sitting next to a psycho axe murderer while marking it. Just lots of red ink.
I'll see you inside, I guess. Mr. Smith, I feel like I'm about to throw up. I think I have a fever. Maybe I can see the nurse.
Well, we are about to line up. When we enter the building, you may go see Mrs. Clacko.
All right.
When they were back inside, Susan went to the nurse, although she felt perfectly fine. The nurse told her to lay down. It was the miraculous cure to all problems.
Susan decided she should follow Mr. Smith home to get back her note. After the last bell, she hung around the playground. Staying out of sight, she didn't hear Peter approach.
Hey, Susan, what are you doing?
None of your business. Leave me alone.
Peter's skinny face started to crumble, and he looked like he was about to cry.
Look, this is private, okay? Sure, I'll bother you.
Susan was thinking about how mean she had been to Peter and realized she was probably his closest friend. She snapped back to reality when she saw Mr. Smith coming out of the building.
Susan followed Mr. Smith for at least 5 blocks. Finally, she was standing in front of an old white house with black shutters. There was a thick hedge surrounding the whole house.
Susan watched Mr. Smith through a hole in the hedge. When he went inside, Susan scooted through the hole and went onto the porch. That's when she heard an unearthly howl. It sounded like a cat in a blender.
In scene 4, following the horrific sound, Susan sneaks into Mr. Smith's house.
The door to Mr. Smith's house was unlocked. Trying not to make a noise, Susan turned the knob and pushed.
The door opened without a sound. She hesitated for just a moment, then stepped in.
She was standing in the living room. The walls and floors were totally bare.
And we mean totally empty, except for curtains. There were not one bit of furniture or decoration in the room.
There was another burst of horrible squawking and growling sounds. Taking a deep breath, Susan began to tiptoe up the stairs.
About halfway up, she thought, what am I doing? I should get out of here while I can. You may not believe this, but the only reason Susan didn't turn back was because she thought that Mr. Smith could actually be in trouble.
Even though she didn't like the man, she didn't want anything to happen to him. So Susan swallowed and took another step. The noise stopped. Was everything over?
Would Mr. Smith start down the stairs and find Susan standing there? Susan was just about to run, but she was afraid if she did, she might read the paper the next day that something terrible had happened to Mr. Smith, something she could have prevented.
Of course she was afraid to keep going, but Susan decided she did not have any choice. Susan took another step, and another.
Susan held on to the railing as if it were a lifeline. Susan decided to slip down the hallway on her belly until she reached the doorway. The noises were like a tiger running its claws down a blackboard. It felt like aluminum foil against her teeth.
When Susan finally got up the nerve to look around the bottom edge of the door, she saw Mr. Smith sitting at a little makeup table, looking in a mirror. The man was handsome. He had a long, lean face with a square jaw, a straight nose, and cheekbones to die for. As she watched Mr. Smith run his fingertips to the sides of his head, He grabbed his ears and started peeling off his face.
Susan watched in horror. The face he was incoming wasn't anything it had born on Earth.
His skin was lime green, his eyes were enormous and orange. They looked like butterfly wings slanting up and away from his nose. Between his eyes and nose were a series of muscular-looking ridges. His mouth was full of round, purplish teeth.
Ah, what a relief.
Mr. Smith started singing along with the horrible noise. Apparently the noise is music.
Suddenly the mirror changed. It was really a communication device. Susan could see another alien face in the mirror now, and what looked like the inside of a spaceship.
Tom reported. The face in the mirror said something like, "Inger, Inger."
It's so good to hear our mother tongue. I cannot wait to return to the ship and have this language implant removed, so I can speak the true tongue and not this barbaric garble.
Susan felt angry when she heard that, but when she heard something even worse.
The testing process is proceeding on schedule. Before long, I will select the students I wish to bring back to study.
Susan couldn't believe what she was hearing. Her teacher was an alien, and he'd come to Earth to kidnap kids and take her to space.